By the late Renaissance, the Protestant Reformation was having an intense effect on the climate of opinion of that period. And a lot of different things are going to happen. Like, for instance, here we see a representation of the wars of religion, Protestants against Catholics. It's a 30 years war. And certainly things were in flux. But in that tumultuous period, Andrea Palladio builds another very influential structure, again based on the Pantheon, called the Villa Rotunda. Palladio's Villa Rotunda is the first domestic structure with a dome on it. The main living quarters were on the main floor, and so that would be this floor. And the ground floor contains the kitchen and some of the utility rooms. It was called the Villa Rotunda because it had the famous round hall. There's Palladio, and there you can see the villa from the top. One thing about the villa is it is definitely extremely designed to be symmetrical. Every side is exactly the same. And you can see the plan here, and that's why it was called the Villa Rotunda. There's not a lot of, uses for some of this space, but it wasn't really a main building. It was really a building where the villa, it was called the Villa Capra. They used it kind of as a summer house. And there you can see inside, underneath the dome, we now have a dome that's glassed in. And by the way, all of this is later additions. This is not what it looked like originally. Ending the Renaissance and the late Renaissance period, we're going to talk about a woman. Sophonisba Anguissola was the oldest of 7 children, 6 daughters and 1 son. And her father was very much about educating his children, even his female children. Women had a hard time becoming artists. They couldn't go to art school, and they had to either be born into a family of artists or they had to have an enlightened father. Her father was a humanist, and so he believed that she was entitled to learn painting since that's what she wanted to do. She is definitely a child of a man who was, like I said, very enlightened. And you can see that here. His daughters are playing chess, which was considered a man's game to learn strategy. This is her most famous piece. Is called the Chess Games. She painted them, and she also painted themes of women and children together. So it's very typical for female painters. This would eventually become kind of like their place in art. Here she is, and she was lucky enough in 1559 to become a painter in the court of King Philip II. She painted his young wife, the Queen of Spain, and she became a favorite of the king as well. She was definitely lucky in that she could earn a living. But one of the funny things is when we look back on her in history is a lot of her paintings are unsigned because she was a woman. It wasn't considered okay for her to take credit for her work. And later artists took credit for her work, but eventually it was revealed that she was the one who had painted all of these images of the Spanish royal family. She's the first successful female artist of the Renaissance. She was definitely ahead of her time. And these are all images of the family members. Here she is in her old age. And at that point, she's got some pretty international fame. And another artist from a later period, well, he's a young Flemish artist, so he's kind of in the Baroque period. Anthony van Dyck, after he heard about her, came and visited her. And so there she is. She lived in Genoa. She moved back to Italy after she was done working for the kings and kings of Spain. So this is the end of a series of 3 lectures for the Renaissance. Please watch all parts I hope you have watched them by this point. And I will see you later. Peace out, everyone.